Hey everyone, before we get into this, make sure to subscribe. Stories like this deserve to be shared. The first thing I remember about that night was the way the apartment smelled. Vanilla candles mixed with a faint tang of cheap wine, a scent that should have felt celebratory, but already made my stomach twist. It was my birthday. I had spent weeks planning it, making sure every detail was perfect. The fairy lights strung across the living room. The playlist curated with songs that reminded me of the small moments she and I had shared. The hors d'oeuvres arranged just so on the counter. She, my wife, was in the kitchen laughing with friends. Her laugh had always been intoxicating, the kind that made people turn to look. But tonight, it felt different, sharper, more deliberate. I tried to shake off the unease as I greeted guests, poured drinks, and kept a smile plastered across my face. She caught my eye across the room once or twice, smiled, and looked away. A small, fleeting smile, but it carried a weight that didn't sit right with me. Earlier that day, I'd noticed her phone buzzing relentlessly, messages from someone labeled only as boss. I'd asked who it was. She laughed it off. Work stuff, she said, her fingers brushing mine. But the vibration of her phone in her hand felt like a warning. I didn't press further. I wanted to believe. I wanted to trust. As the night progressed, she floated through conversations, closer to him than she had been to me in months. He had arrived late, sharp suit, confident grin, eyes scanning the room like he owned it, and she ran to him. Not metaphorically. Literally ran. Across my carefully arranged living room, past my friends, past me, and then, as if rehearsed, she kissed him, right there, in front of everyone. The room went silent. My hands clenched around my drink. Her eyes met mine for a fraction of a second, no shame, no hesitation, before she turned back to him, laughing, as if I wasn't even there. And in that moment, I realized that everything I thought I knew about my marriage, about her, was a lie. I froze. I couldn't breathe. And then my phone buzzed. Another message. From her. I stared at the message, my hands trembling. The words on the screen were casual, almost playful. Had the best time tonight, face blowing a kiss, can't wait for tomorrow. My heart slammed against my ribs. Tomorrow? Tomorrow meant she was planning more. More lies, more betrayal, more humiliation, and I couldn't stop the rising panic. I tried to keep my composure, to act like I hadn't seen it. But every detail of that kiss burned in my mind. I remembered the way his hands held her waist, the tilt of her head, the way she leaned in as if I didn't exist. My friends shifted awkwardly around me, whispering, exchanging glances. I wanted to scream, to run, to pull her aside and demand the truth, but my voice felt trapped in my throat. Later, in the kitchen, I watched her laughing at a story he told, leaning closer than any friend ever should. She brushed her fingers against his arm, a light, almost invisible touch, but my stomach dropped like a stone. I caught myself noticing every detail. The curve of her smile when she looked at him, the way she flipped her hair back, the softness in her voice that she reserved only for him. I tried calling her out subtly. Hey, maybe we should. My words trailed off as she interrupted, leaning over to him to whisper something, her lips brushing his ear. That whisper, that laugh, it shattered me. I realized I hadn't just been ignored tonight. I had been replaced, invisible in the very home I'd built for us. I stepped outside, needing air, needing space to think. My mind raced with memories of the past year. The canceled plans, the unexplained late nights, the secret smiles at her phone. All the little signs I had dismissed. They weren't signs. They were warnings I refused to see. And then I noticed a pattern in her messages. Not just tonight, not just flirtations, but dates, private dinners, hidden meetings, months of betrayal neatly folded into polite lies. My fingers shook as I scrolled through them. Every time I'd asked if everything was okay, every time I'd trusted her explanation, it had been another thread in a tapestry of deceit. I wanted confrontation. I wanted answers. But mostly, I wanted to disappear, to escape the crushing weight of reality. And as I stared into the dark night, I realized something terrifying. The woman I had built my life around wasn't just unfaithful. She had been planning this all along. I went back inside, my heart a mixture of fury, heartbreak, and disbelief. And there she was, laughing with him as if nothing had happened. As if I were a ghost in my own life, I stepped into the room, every nerve screaming, every heartbeat a drum of anger and grief. She looked up, her smile faltering for the briefest second, just enough to know she understood I knew, and then it hardened back into the mask she wore so effortlessly. Charm, confidence, innocence. "Can we talk?" I said, my voice low but steady though it trembled inside. She tilted her head, eyes flashing with something I couldn't place. Defiance? Guilt? Amusement? About what? She asked casually, as if the kiss, the laughter, the secret messages, none of it had ever happened. My hands clenched at my sides. "About you running into his arms," I said, barely above a whisper, in front of everyone. About the months of lies. About us. For a heartbeat, she looked at me, truly looked, and I saw her falter. But then she smiled, cold and practiced. "You're overreacting," she said, turning away. "It was just a moment. You worried too much." I laughed, but it was hollow, shaking. A moment? That moment is our life. It's every night I stayed up worried, every plan I canceled for you, every time I trusted you. My words came faster, sharper, slicing the air between us. "I'm done trusting. I'm done pretending this is okay." Her face paled for a fraction of a second. Then she tried to approach me, hand outstretched, but I stepped back. "Don't," I said, my voice hard and now controlled. "I'm done. I paid for that night. I planned it for us, but you showed me exactly what you value, and it's not me." The room was silent. Friends shuffled awkwardly, unsure where to look. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For once, there were no words, no excuses, no rehearsed lines. Just the stark truth of her betrayal hanging in the air. I walked out of my own apartment that night, leaving the laughter, the fairy lights, and her behind. The city felt cold, but the chill was easier to bear than the weight of her deceit. I realized that sometimes heartbreak isn't sudden. It's a slow, creeping revelation that someone you love has been living a lie. And sometimes the only way to survive it is to walk away, even when every part of you wants to scream, to fight, to plead. That night, I learned that love doesn't always conquer. Trust doesn't always heal. But self-respect, dignity, and the courage to leave, that can save you from a lifetime of pain. If you've ever faced betrayal, if you've ever felt invisible to someone you love, I want to hear your story. Comment below, share your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for more real, human stories that hit hard, but teach harder.